What is up, my Lorcana Goons? Welcome back to the Lorcana Goons channel. You are watching the weekly Quest with a Guest podcast. Every week, Zach and I sit down with a fellow Luminaire to talk about the game of Lorcana. This week, we're sitting down with an official Lorcana judge. Well, as official as you can get right now, we're sitting down with Philip Wong, a fellow Southern California native who has not only judged official Disney Lorcana challenges around the nation, but even local store championship events and stuff like that as well. He's a huge member of the Southern California community, a huge supporter of the Lorcana Goons channel. Phil is in charge of the IE Enchanted Discord, which has been key in helping a lot of the Southern California natives find where to play set championship events in Southern California. So huge shout out to Phil. Since he is a Lorcana judge, we're going to ask him some ruling questions. We're going to ask him how he would rule certain judge calls and learn a little bit more about the game from a more technical standpoint. We're going to talk a little bit about rule sharking, a little bit about how to call a judge at an event, and how you can get better at the game simply by following the rules. So remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned to Lorcana Goons for more. What is up, my Lorcana Goons? Welcome back to the Lorcana Goons channel, and welcome back to the Quest with a Guest podcast. I'm here with my co-host Zach Stone, and we have a very special guest. We have Phil, i.e. Enchanted Phil, over here joining us from Southern California. He is a Lorcana Goons supporter. He loves the Lorcana card game so much that he even judges the DLCs. He puts a lot of time and energy also into his Inland Empire Enchanted Lorcana Discord and group, if I'm not mistaken, and he's super active in the community, dude. So Phil, introduce yourself, please, to the Lorcana Goons community.
Hey guys, I'm Phil. I am a Lorcana Disney official judge, I guess. There's no official judges yet, but I'm one of those judges that, put in the time for challenges. I am an organizer at heart. So when I came into Lorcana, and I've been in TCGs for a long time, but coming into Lorcana, I noticed that, as everyone was floundering about trying to figure out how to schedule where to play and stuff like that, I found, hey, let's put together something and create a group to organize and just help stores out and just find places for me to play as well as everyone else, and just help promote Lorcana across the Southern California.
One of the questions I get a lot from like people who are coming into Lorcana or new Lorcana players is, where can I play? How do I find local game stores? Any advice? I see it a lot on Twitter, especially, right? And usually I tend to point people to the direction of like Facebook or something like that, and then I get the response of like, I don't like Facebook, but I start thinking like, wow, like we are really blessed to have a guy like Phil in the Southern California community. Like you just said, organizing, dude. If you guys aren't aware of the way Lorcana works, we have set championships every core set for Lorcana, which is basically once a month. All the local game stores that are official gets to throw this like cool tournament where you win a mat and you win an important prize card, right? And it's so hard to find not only just information on which stores carry Lorcana or when they're doing tournaments, but to find what time they are doing their set championships, how many players they're capped at, and all this other information. It's kind of hard. And in a competitive community, sometimes people like to withhold this information. And what I've always appreciated about Southern California and Philip over here is that he's put together it's a Google spreadsheet, right? It's a Google Doc that we share around in the Southern California Facebook groups for Lorcana, that basically shows not only where every store set championship is, the time, the player cap. It has a link directly to the Melee, but year round outside of those store champs, there's just information about like set 5, your local game stores in Southern California, and anything else you probably need to know, right? So it helps a lot of people stay really connected. A lot of people don't know that this is the guy behind that, and he's also a floor judge at your Disney Lorcana challenges, man. So he knows how to play the game probably better than most people, right? Because you have to know the rulings. And I've played with you in tournaments before too. I know you have some set champs under your belt, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, yeah, I have I got 2 Ursulas and I got a Stitch with the mats as well. So also just play around in a bunch of these events, and then for me, I just like playing. I like judging, and I try to judge more because I get paid that way. So.
Yeah, no, when I first got introduced to you, I actually got to know you through Kevin's cousin, Chris.
Right.
Because he would be in that Inland Empire area playing a lot of the local scenes. And, he started saying, your name kind of casually. And I'm like, I think I know who that is. I've seen a name, circling around the Disney, Lorcana Facebook groups and whatnot. But yeah, as times come on, you've have shown your support of the Goons channel, and so Kevin and I always appreciate anyone that likes, comments, and subscribes on every videos. So we do appreciate everyone. And Phil, you said you had TCG background experience. What other TCGs have you played, and if you have judged those as well?
So way back in the day, so I'm obviously dating myself. I played Pokemon, like first set Pokemon. I obviously didn't know anything I was doing because I was really young back then, but also then played Yu-Gi-Oh! I played that very well. I was a store champion level, like they had the Millennium Puzzle and everything with my name on it at the store. And this was, before ban lists were even a thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! And then during my high school and college years, I got into Magic for a while. Played some regional events there. Was also a very decent store level player there, and also started doing Magic judging back then. Just at store level, nothing too crazy. I always enjoy, when people come into stores and they're newer players and they don't fully understand the rules, just like how I was with different games. It was very nice to have someone there to be able to assist in a friendly way and just help explain how things work and try to explain the foundational aspects of each game. That way they can grow from there, right? Because if you don't have that foundation, it's really hard to get into a game. I remember me and a friend during college picked up the WoW TCG. I don't know if you guys ever played or heard of that one.
Yeah.
And then, we went to a major event in San Diego, and we realized we didn't know anything about the game. We didn't know how to play it at all. And it was just, because it was just me and my friend playing, and we had nowhere else to play. And it was really bad, but we wish we had someone explaining, sitting down with us and just kind of going over the rules and helping us understand those kinds of games.
Yeah, especially right now, Lorcana's in its infancy, I like to think. We're only a year into the game, right? They just released that gateway product, which is kind of supposed to be like, here's your introduction to Lorcana and the game and whatnot. Have you introduced any of your other former TCG friends into Lorcana and been like, hey, try this game out and show them how to play?
Yeah, for sure. So interestingly enough, I got into Lorcana because I had an itch to get back into competitive TCGs. I played Hearthstone for a while, but there's something to say about face-to-face interaction with players and that social aspect, which I was craving for a long time. And I had a friend at work ask me about, hey, there's this new Disney TCG coming out. And I was like, oh, okay. I asked him, when did it come out? He's like, oh, September. So this was, during the big box release of the first chapter. So I dived into it. Couldn't find a single pack, but luckily we had game stores in the area that were allowing proxies. So I started going from there, and I was able to introduce more coworkers into it. So we frequent some of our local stores here by me in Redlands, California. And that's been a great thing. And, I also help some of the stores run Learn to Plays for these events too.
Yeah, no, Kevin was basically the guy that got me into Lorcana. So I love that you're kind of, everyone's passing that love on and passing the Disney magic on for sure. This is a Disney trading card game. So with any sort of Disney, do you like any Disney characters or any favorite movies about Disney?
I grew up with Mulan, man. I had to, right? That's Asian representation. That was, my mom loved it. That was just constantly on. I can't wait for Mushu to be a card, because that will be amazing. Whatever color Mushu's in, that's the deck I'm playing for that set.
Yeah, we've all been waiting for Mushu. Yeah, I've been waiting for Mushu since they introduced Mulan. The Mulan was in set one, right? Yeah, man. It's been waiting for that one too for a long time. So how often do you get to play Lorcana? Because there's a lot of stores in Southern California, and I always tell people we're kind of blessed to be in this area, because I could technically find a store a night to go play Lorcana at, but traffic and lives and whatnot. I'm in LA County. You're all the way in IE. It's still Southern California, but we're about an hour, maybe even more away with the traffic. So how often do you get to actually play?
So for me, luckily, I have two stores right in my backyard, and I play 2 or 3 times a week at stores, as well as practicing with some of your guys in your different practice sessions. Shane for example. I practice with him a ton. And I always have options to go to, like you said, almost every night of the week in my part of the area. I can go to a place, but unfortunately, I have kids, right, and that's hard. And I try to, as they're growing up, they want me home more, so I try to be home, but I like to try to get out as much as I can. Luckily, I have locals that are just a few hours a night for the week, so like 3-hour sessions when they're going to bed already. So I'm like, cool. I'm gonna go out. You guys are going to bed. I'm gonna be back, and check in on you guys later.
Yeah, no, I love that. How old are they? Are they old enough to play the game yet? Have you showed them the game?
No, yeah. I mean, my daughter's turning 5 this weekend.
Oh,
so,
nice. Yeah, happy birthday. Heck yeah.
Thank you. And she loves the character. She loves the cards. So it's funny because she'll see me opening packs and sorting, and then she'll be like, "Do you have any for me?" And I'm like, "Here's a Minnie Mouse. Here you go. Have fun." But my son, he is 2 months old, so he just came into the world, and I'm interested in hoping to like this game lasts, and I can introduce him to that when he's older. So
that's crazy. You're gonna be able to tell him like this game is older than you.
That's true.
That's cool, man. Are you a fan of Disney? I see the Star Wars. I see the R2-D2 in the back. Obviously, they're to Disney now. But in general, like, do you go to Disneyland? I know a lot of people love Disneyland for the game.
Yep. We used to have annual passes and stuff like that. It's kind of calmed down a little bit from having kids. But now my daughter's getting to that age where she's tall enough to ride the rides. So I'm waiting to get her back into it. We took her a few times to Disneyland. She really loved it. Just seeing the spark of imagination and seeing, watching her just see that joy in her eyes when she sees fireworks and stuff, and seeing Mickey Mouse. That's what makes it worth it, man.
That's cool, man.
Definitely.
I always bring it up. I have a little niece. She's not little no more. She's like 15, so it's not really the same spark at Disneyland. But in general though, like I wish Disneyland was a little more affordable. Because you bought up the pass, and I know this is a Lorcana podcast, but this kind of got me thinking. Like I would go to Disneyland more, even go to like played at Disneyland or open packs at Disneyland because I've done it in the past. But it was just so expensive now. Like it's just it's just a little bit too out of my budget to go. But when I did open a pack at Disneyland, I pulled an Enchanted. I pulled an Enchanted Maui, and that was like one of my first Twitter posts for the Lorcana Goons Twitter. That was cool. But yeah, the Disneyland is for sure where you build core memories. I think so that'd be really cool to get some more Lorcana in there. I like that. I like that we have the pin traders thing that goes on every set that drops. Have you gone to did you go to D23, and have you gone to pin traders when the sets drop to line up with all the people?
Yeah, so for both set 4 and 5, I went to pin traders. I did have a pass for D23, but I opted to give that pass to a friend because D23 apparently they don't let kids in that they're over 2. So he needed a pass for his son. So I gave him my pass to let him and his kid go in with his wife because they got 2 passes but couldn't find one for his kid. So I opted to go to D20 to the Downtown Disney instead. Me and my friends, because it was D23 release as well, we knew that those sets were going to be there. We got to Downtown Disney at 3 a.m, and they wouldn't let us line up or anything. They said, they made us wait in our cars, and it was just a mad rush. Same thing with set 4, just that mad rush trying to figure out where to go. Everyone's trying to get those mats, those Rapunzel mats, sold out instantly. So. But yeah, it's crazy. The excitement's there, and it's interesting to me because I always right now it's a little bit easier to get the product. Right, we can order from Best Buy or whatever when those pre-releases happen. But there's a certain rush and just being able to hang with friends and do that camaraderie of like midnight release and stuff like that, of getting in and hanging out and just celebrating Disney, I guess.
That is definitely the feeling I had. Kevin and I were at D23 Expo. We had that, whole morning of just sitting there. We were playing Lorcana and waiting in like a line, for 30 minutes. all of a sudden everyone's running and we have to pack up the cards so quickly and throw in our backpacks. Like, it was a little funny,
Yeah, we
but
were playing on the floor. Like we were literally in line
Mhm.
at 4 in the morning playing Lorcana on the floor. Zach was the only person, I guarantee you, Zach was the only human being in all of that D23 con with set 5 cards at 4 in the morning. Because we were we were literally playing set 5 and we had like people just around us. I'm surprised no one got a picture of that or something. People were just around us like, is that Daisy Duck on the field? Like, oh my gosh.
Well, Good Morning America walked by, right? They had the PR person doing like a video, and they were just they wanted everyone to get like riled up. Mind you, people are like just dead, at that time of the morning, just in line drinking their coffees and energy drinks. So it was a blast, and like you just said too, that adrenaline rush. I get that same thing. I'm pretty sure Kevin does too. And
Yeah.
the biggest part is the community, right? Because we've seen a lot coming from a different TCG. We've been playing, we've had Yu-Gi-Oh under our belts for over 10 years, and just coming from a different card game, seeing the difference in people, it's crazy. So I wanted to ask you, Phil, like, how would somebody that doesn't have the luxury of being in Southern California, being in this area with a bunch of Disney around them, how would you suggest somebody build a community like that in their local area?
So it really starts at the store level. It really comes into finding your store and then finding the people there and then starting to promote from there. Every store itself, as I've traveled through Southern California, going to different stores, every store itself, when you're playing Disney Lorcana for like locals and stuff, it's a community, it's a family, right? And the great thing about Disney and the great thing about aspect of this game is that we like building families together, right? And just encouraging that growth and encouraging working together with the stores or working together with the community to see what the people want. I don't know if you guys remember a few months back, I started that survey where we tried to see what people wanted at their different stores across the area, and provide that to organizers just to start building so that the organizers can say, yeah, maybe we're charging too much or maybe we're not giving back enough to our community. And once they started changing that helped grow their stores. A lot of it's just being courageous enough and brave enough to provide that feedback as well, obviously in a constructive manner, to tell stores, hey, you're charging a little too much, or you're not really giving back to the community. Like, I'm paying you $15 to play here, but I'm not getting anything back. Even if I win, that kind of feels bad, right? And that feedback, that kind of stuff needs to be given back to stores. I just recently had an event where it was advertised, it was a starter deck tournament for set 5. And I went, I paid a fee, I paid $5 to play that event. I went 4-0 in that event. I got nothing. I I literally got nothing.
No,
Yeah, and I was like, and I immediately went back to the store and I was like, hey, like, I understand what you guys are trying to do with this. I know this is more of a casual thing, but I spent 4 hours here playing the game. I bought the starter deck. I paid money to play in your store, and you guys received money, but you didn't prize out anything. That's really bad. That's really bad as a player experience, right? And just being able to voice those opinions and find the right people, and again, in a constructive manner. Really, they took that information, they started adjusting how things are going for them. So it all helps. Feedback is heard, feedback is appreciated, and getting enough people on board with you to also say, yeah, like, this is kind of what we want. And if you want to grow Lorcana at your store and your community, right, you have to be that voice and get that heard.
I started thinking about the players that go to the little Pele store that we have in Long Beach. 'Cause it's a little small, a humble store, and I feel like it did take a while for us to grow that community. We had to figure out like what days worked better for our community specifically. That too, we weren't seeing people show up on Tuesdays, so then we started seeing people show up on Saturdays, and then I feel like also, yeah, messing around with the pricing, messing around with the prices of entry and stuff like that helps a lot. But most importantly, getting that feedback and even asking your locals, like, how do you feel about this tournament or like this location, you know what I mean? And yeah, there's a lot of stores in SoCal, like we've been saying, and sometimes it does feel like some stores don't get enough Lorcana players in there, but then I also feel like, well, so many stores are doing Lorcana, maybe everyone's just at other specific stores, you know what I mean? But in general, like, the Inland Empire is popping. If you
Yeah.
if you had to give a shout out to like a local game store, who would it be?
Top Choice Gaming. That's the store in my backyard. I know everyone on your channel has been saying it lately, but
Hey, no,
great store.
shout out Dio. Dio's my man, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've literally known Dio since I was a kid. I was in high school. Like, you know, that guy's a goat. Like, and in general, like, that community is really cool in terms of even just playing any card game there. That's for sure. That's for sure a store where when I've ever gone to play any tournament, I've always had a good experience, no matter what. Like that story just knows how to like really breed like we're talking about that type of community, that very welcoming community where you're not only gonna like be able to pick up a game, but like make friends along the way. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what it's about at the same time. But it's also about playing and winning and playing correctly. And you are a
Yeah.
judge, so I really want to go over that. So, have you judged any local stores, or and in general, like what are some judge experiences that you've had either at the local level or at the DLC level?
So, I mean, being the organizer that I am for the I Enchanted, I get a little bit of privilege to just ask directly to owners, like, hey, do you want to judge for your event? Because I'm a judge, and obviously judging for DLC gives me a little bit more officialness, I guess, like so they can say, hey, yeah, like I've judged officially, like I'm a judge. They hired me, you can hire me too, right? So I've worked with several stores in the area, Tier 1 Gaming in Escondido, Top Choice in Redlands here now, and Board Game Paradise, and a few other like the Light in Ontario. And just recently I did the Red Saber Games event that you just covered on your meta report.
Yep. Thank you for saying that. Go watch that video, my Lorcana Goons. Okay, yeah.
And then yeah, I mean, I judge. I do tons of set champs judgings, stuff like that. And I will say, for the most part, judging is pretty chill. You just have to kind of know the rules, kind of know your interactions, make sure you understand those. The hardest part about judging is the when players break those rules. Right? Obviously, making a mistake is 100% fine. We're playing Disney Lorcana. Like, if you make a mistake, that's chill, right? Like, there's things in place to help you with that. It's just a game warning. It's nothing serious. It's when players do the bad things that get really weird. We had a player in one of the last events who jokingly, after investigation, we determined it was a joke, had said, hey, this guy told me that if I play you, and this was, instead of just drawing into Top Cut, he said, if I play you, he'll give me packs. And that's a big no-no. And we had to hold the tournament for a few minutes. We had to figure that out and investigate. And the guy didn't realize what he was doing was wrong. And obviously, that's an educational standpoint. Being at a local level, we really don't want to disqualify players, because that feels bad. But also at the same time, we have to uphold the integrity of the event. And after figuring out that he was joking, that no one offered him packs, he made a bad joke in taste. We issued him a match loss for that. He still got a Top Cut, and then, interestingly enough, later in that event, before his semifinals match, he asked me, he's like, I need to go home, but I want prizing. Can I offer my opponent to concede to him, but he'll split prizing with me? And I was like, dude, if you say those words to your opponent, I will disqualify you right here. Like, you can't joke about it, man. He's like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you have to, I mean, as a player, you do have to understand some of these rules, but that's why I'm here, is to guide you, right? Like, don't break them, just ask first.
No, yeah, asking is for sure important, and you brought up something that's super important, because a lot of people bring this up with the DLCs as well. I guess this would fall under collusion, right? To that extent, like, for lack of a better term. And that's like something that a lot of people, unfortunately, have voiced their negative opinions on with the DLCs. Just to be frank, people don't like that. At the in the last couple rounds, the conversation comes up. These hypothetical conversations of what happens if this happens. What happens if I do this, brother? And at the end of the day, people's agreement. You can agree to whatever you want, but like you're saying, you're there to play Lorcana. There's specific rules there in place place for a reason, and
Right.
like you don't want somebody else's conversations to determine the outcome of a tournament, thus ruining the integrity of the game, the tournament, and then at the end of the day, it's like your customer base. They gotta trust you. They gotta trust you to uphold an actual sportsmanship experience at the end of the day. So I think that is something that is important. Do you think that's something that can be solved in the 2 game format or in general, or it's just kind of like a learning curve with TCGs? Because there's people who just don't know, like you said.
I think I mean there's 2 different parts to it, right? I think obviously the numbers game is something that players are going to have to learn throughout any TCG they go into, where they stand on points and whether or not that's good enough to get them into the top cut or whatever they're trying to chase after for prizing. And the other part of that is knowing the rules. And for Disney Lorcana, there's very specific rules to that. Obviously, you cannot decide a game without playing the game unless you're going to intentionally draw or split, right? And that's pretty much it. You can't ask anyone, hey, if I win game 1, will you concede to me? That kind of stuff. You can't, let's roll for it. None of that's going to happen. And if, as a judge, we understand what you guys are trying to do. We understand that it's the end of the day. We understand you want to get through this, but also at the same point, right? I'm hired to uphold the rules, and that's what I'm gonna have to do. So you have to understand the rules, and it's your responsibility to know that. And then in terms of like the 2 game format or best of 3s, it's the same for the most part. In terms of getting to those splits, getting to those bubble tables. I do think that it's a little bit harder for 2 game format, right? In best of 3s, if you lose game 1, you still have a shot, right? You can still surge back on games 2 and 3, and that makes it a bit different. 2 game format, you lose game 1 and you go, well, I lost game 1, and if I try to draw with you, that helps nobody. So maybe I concede, maybe I don't. Really on the player. I do think that this is something I talked to Ryan Miller, the designer, and Kyle during Atlanta. I asked them, I was like, hey, 2 game format's cool, and you guys made this decision based on the card availability at the time, like the card pool at the time, and how it felt going first or second. With more cards coming and the game growing, will that change back? And they didn't say no. They didn't confirm whether or not it would, but it's an idea there that at some point it might switch back to a 3 game format, and which might help those tables at the end of the day.
A lot of people talk about that. I know in our circle, mixed opinions on the 2 game format for sure, because there is the point too that if you are playing correctly and if you are making those accurate decisions and right reads, that you will efficiently 2-0 most opponents. And building your deck too is also step number 1. But more importantly, knowing these rulings, knowing these interactions, I think that is going to be the biggest weight to carry as a player. It's what I strived for in Yu-Gi-Oh! During a lot of the times when I was playing, and it would just be understanding how these cards would interact with each other. And Lorcana is completely different. We have the bag and resolving effects. I know Kevin and I we talked about Diablo's triggers with Whole New World, and how you can take each trigger out of the bag and decide when to stop drawing if you'd like. So it's always good to know how these rulings work. Just by offhand experience or anything from memory, what were some of the most interesting rulings that even kind of perplexed your thought process and understanding of the game?
Oh man, so the funny thing, and I encourage anybody who wants to be a judge or just understand the rulings more, is to hang out in the official Disney Lorcana Discord. That rules channel goes off the rails sometimes. One of the things that really perplexes us, and it's actually something that just got brought back from the rules manager, is replacement effects. So Beast's Selfless Protector, his ability is that whenever damage is going to be done, put damage counters on him instead, right? And there's this huge new ruling that's coming up where replacement effects can only, if you trigger a replacement effect, and there's multiple replacement effects that are happening, you have to choose which one is going to be put in place.
Ah.
So, and obviously these are niche, right? Not everyone's running Beast Selfless Protector. I'd be surprised if you see any of those at top tables, but right now, Resist is a replacement effect, and Beast is a replacement effect. So if I were to, do a, let's say, smash on something with Resist, it's either I do whatever the damage is, 3 minus the resist to the character with resist, or I just put 3 damage counters on Beast. Right? And that's like something that completely changed recently too.
Oh, okay. So like I would initially think that because of resist, only one damage is done, and then that one damage goes to the beast. But now you're saying
Right.
that you got to pick between
Yep.
each. Oh wow. Okay. Wow. That is a We're gonna start getting into the really nuanced little things of Lorcana soon, like where rulings like this are gonna matter eventually. And if you don't know these rulings, and it's not gonna be your fault. Sometimes you're just playing the game out and you assume that's how it works, right? But oh wow.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's a very pro tip. Hang out in the official Disney Lorcana Discord and
Yeah.
check the rulings section. Wow. Okay. That's super. Wow. I'm shook.
And one of the golden rules that a lot of Lorcana players don't yet realize, and because they come from other TCGs, is that cards can't interrupt cards, right? So you have to fully resolve what you're trying to do before anything else triggers. We had this rules question come up and it's probably going to happen more with the Toronto deck list that came out. With the muses and singing a song, you have to finish resolving the song. So any effects that happen with the song before you can bounce something with the muse. And I had players, well, I want to sing Sudden Chill, and they don't have no cards in hand, but I want to bounce the character first and make them discard Sudden Chill. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. You have to resolve the song you're playing, and then you get any of your when played triggers, and then you can resolve those out of the bag.
Yes, I love that, and I love the bag term. I think it just fits so well in my mind because you're putting triggers and you're taking them out however you want.
I tried to advocate that it be called a shelf instead because I can see everything on my shelf. I don't see everything in a bag.
Okay, that's true. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yep, you can see it on the shelf. Yeah, okay, it makes sense though. But yeah, I like that you brought that up with that resolution thing because comparing to other games, some games like Yu-Gi-Oh have chain links where you can go like this happens and this happens and this happens. But even in that game, Yu-Gi-Oh, it's the same kind of situation where you can't interrupt that resolution of a chain link. So that's how I've always looked at Lorcana, where like you're playing the song has to resolve, and then you proceed with whatever else can be active. One of my little pet peeves, and this is kind of irrelevant, but it'll be relevant in the future. Watch. But one of my little pet peeves is when people use Ursula Deceiver of All and Stormray John. Right? Sometimes players they play Stormray John and they immediately put the card to the bottom, draw 2, and just pick 2 damage. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa! Like pick your
Right.
2 damage, draw a card, put it to the bottom, then pick your 2 damage again and draw because you never know. Like just in general, like playing correctly, like that first draw that might change where your other damage goes. You don't know,
Mhm.
So that's something that I and like I don't like. I'm not gonna tell anybody like, hey, go back like just if that's how you want to play your card, that's how you're playing your cards. But if I'm gonna play that card, I'm gonna use every inch of knowledge as I can and advantage as I can, just to play correctly. Eventually, stuff like that will matter, though. You know what I mean? Where you can't just resolve the cards however you want. Like they have to be done in a certain sequence, the way you were talking about with muses and Sudden Chill, because that's also something I've seen before kind of come up. Even little things on the stream, the DLC stream, people asking like, oh, can you just play Let It Go for no reason? Like, can you just play a song? Like, can you do that? And people were like, yeah, of course you can. There was a Amber Steel player just playing songs into thin air so you can tap die, and people were like, you can do that. And there's so many like new players coming into the game where like, yeah, just in my personal opinion, just throw away any knowledge you know about other games and just like start learning how the rules work in Lorcana because it is a little different.
I will say one thing that people do mess up a lot too is playing things out of sequence. Just like you're saying with the Let the Storm Rage On. A lot of players, if you follow Lorcana rules exactly, there's a way to do, obviously there's a way to do things. You're supposed to announce your card and then tell players how they're going to pay for it and stuff like that. I know, and this is different between the EU and NA DLCs. There is a little bit of a leeway for takebacks in the EU, where let's say you're not fully sure if you're going to do something, even though you paid for it. If it's a bad play, they'll let you take it back. Versus like at the NA, as soon as you're paid for something, it's out, right? And I will tell you honestly, from my perspective as a judge, since there's no actual takebacks in the game right now, as soon as you technically announce something, it's out. If your opponent lets you take it back and I'm not there standing over you, that's fine. But and then especially if you've tapped your ink for it, you're already on step 7 of playing a card. You know what I'm saying? So
Which
you have
is
to
like
do
the
things.
final step.
Yeah. You have to do things. If you're trying to do things correctly, you got to follow those steps on it. And when you spell things out by those steps, the game is actually much simpler.
Yes, that's one thing that I thank you for saying that, because when Zach has said it plenty of times, says it better than I do anyway. Like maintaining the game state is so important, and when two players know how to do that, it's just chef's kiss. You just play flawless games. You just you get the best testing, like just everything. Like you just become such a better player when all you're focused on is like just playing the game correctly, which is another thing I want to bring up, which is when you're not focused on trying to rule shark your opponent or trying to nitpick at things like takebacks and stuff, like realistically, like just playing the game the way it's supposed to be done will prevent any of that from happening, and that comes with practice. It definitely comes with practice. But have you had any issues with quote unquote rule sharking?
Oh, definitely. And it's funny because I'll have local players who they're friends normally, and then they'll play each other and they go, "You're really going to be like that?" And I'm like, guys, let's. If you did it, you did it. But there's been plenty of times where I'll have players they'll oh, I'm going to quest with this, and then they'll update the lore, and then like 2 seconds later, oh, actually I don't want to quest with that. I'm like, you've announced it, you've tapped it, your hands off the cards. It's been 10 seconds, right? Let's commit. And you have players who slightly put a card down. They haven't done anything. They haven't announced. They haven't said anything. And I had a player call me. Oh, I saw the card that he was attempting to play, so it's got to be played now. And I'm like, dude, like he hasn't said anything. It hasn't left his hand. Let's relax. So yeah, I mean, people sometimes try to angle shoot, try to get that edge. But I have to remind them sometimes, like, guys, this is Lorcana. I get the competitive edge to it. I get sometimes the feeling of pushing for it, but let's relax every now and then, because we're here to have fun. And if players are following the rules, then I'm not going to try to get them to trip up on something.
Exactly.
100%.
Well,
The big word I like to think about. The big word I like to think about is accountability, and just holding yourself accountable for your actions, but also just maintaining a proper game state. Mandatory triggers are mandatory, like lore gain from a location. Like I'm writing it down the second I'm ending my turn. If I see my opponent has a lore count on any location, I'm immediately writing it down because that's always going to happen. And beast, for example, I'm always telling my opponent, draw for your beast. Just because it's a mandatory trigger for it to gain that strength if it is damage or otherwise draw a card. So it is crucial, and I implore other players to kind of just keep that mentality focused on keeping the game as a whole and keeping the integrity there. Winning is important too, but it doesn't feel good when you win unfairly or you get away with something like that. So yeah, kudos to you for keeping that instated as a judge. You talked about that Red Saber Games event, and I was there as a player. And funny enough, during my round 1, I overheard one of my neighbors talking about, "Oh, are you going to be like that?" And his opponent goes, "Yes, everyone in this room will too."
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, and that Red Saber games was like $40, $50 entry, man. Like, hey, you're there. You're there to win, but again, you gotta maintain the game, so you gotta do the plays. Zach, you brought up something I do want to ask Phil though. Mandatory trigger effects. Let's say my opponent has a castle on board. I pass turn. They don't gain their castle lore. They do like a play. They play a goat. They gain a lore. They play a rabbit. They draw. They decide to play a snake. They gain another lore. And then before they pass their turn, they say, "Hey, I forgot to gain my castle lore." If I'm a jerk, which I'm not, but if I'm a jerk player, with my hat backwards or something. One sec. Okay, now I'm jerk Kevin. Hey, buddy, you can't gain your lore. Like, and then I'm gonna call Judge. And I go, Judge, I'm focused on things that aren't part of the game. Judge, what happens? Like, do you tell him like nah, or what happens?
Well, so that's an interesting one, because locations are mandatory, then they're not triggers either, so they just happen. So as long as it's caught before the end of the turn, I I won't penalize the player. It just happened, right? Like just because you forgot to update your lore doesn't mean it didn't happen. The difference is on other things like Robinhood, for example. You challenge something, you banished it, and you're supposed to gain 2 lore. Well, it's a mandatory trigger, right? But that can be missed, So it just depends on how far back as how many actions have been happening since then for me to rewind. Because obviously, I've used this example plenty of times, even talking to the head judge of PBG. I've talked to him about it, and it's like at some point there's a if I've made multiple turns of decisions based on you not having that 2 lore, it's too late for us to go back and try to fix that. As a judge, we have head judges have the power to rewind. Sometimes they'll delegate that to other judges, in which if we can fix the game state to the point where that lore should have happened, or I can monitor and say, well, what would you have done differently if you gained that 2 lore, right? Would any play have really changed? And if the answer is really no, then gain the lore. But if at any point in time you're gonna challenge something differently, right? I've had a lot of players, oh, you're missing 2 lore. You're only going to get to 19 lore this next turn, so I'm okay, right? Whereas actually, oh, you actually had that 2 lore, you would get to 21. Maybe I need to challenge something instead, right? So knowing these decisions and how that works, that really changes how I would react as a judge. But locations, you have to gain it. It just happens.
Yeah, context is important. Is kind of what I'm also getting to, because a lot of people they like to read certain rules in rule books. I remember this was I remember when Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh introduced certain rules about getting DQ'd or whatnot. There was just so much nitpicking about like, oh, so if I hypothetically do this to my opponent, then am I going to get DQ'd? And it's like, no, dude, these judges are people. These judges are human beings. Like they understand context. They understand like what a game state. That's what they're there for. So a lot of it really is like kind of a literal judgment call, right? For lack of a better term. Like cool, man. But yeah, man. It sounds like it comes with a very rewarding feeling being a Lorcana judge.
It does. I mean, I've had Atlanta, and unfortunately, like I said, I have a 2-month-old, right? So he came right after Atlanta, so I haven't been able to attend DLC since. But being at Atlanta and working that event and helping players, not just from the judging perspective, but also the setup and just being human to people, I got so much positive feedback and so much, players just coming up to me and saying thank you for me doing what I'm doing, which is just judging and working an event. And that was, that's kind of why I like judging, is just that social interaction, that being that guiding hand for players who feel nervous about playing and just saying like, hey guys, don't be nervous. I'm here to help you with the game. If, again, mistakes happen. It's nothing serious. Let's just keep working forward, and let me help you learn a little bit so that you can grow as a player.
Really refreshing to see that, in the Disney community, especially for Lorcana. It's very important. I think a lot of DLCs are treated as like, special events for families because they go there as a whole. They treat it like a trip to Disneyland where they're trying each different side event, they're having fun. And yes, judges have to be there for those people too, as much as they have to be there for the competitors. I think it's always, important to highlight that these judges are people too, that they're not gonna they're not gonna make everybody happy. They have to make calls. Decisions have to be made that may favor one person over the other, and that's just how it goes. I've been on the bad side of judge calls, and I've been on the winning side of judge calls. It doesn't necessarily take anything away from how I feel about that judge. Even if they made the wrong call, they made the call with the information and what they felt best. And even at local levels, when I have to, help out any rulings, I make the best call to my knowledge at the time, and I have to make a decision. I think time is also important too, because time extensions, I don't know if they're actually allowed or given out at the DLC event. I haven't heard of it. They are cool. So yeah, the rulings could take some time to figure out, and that is always good to know that you are allowed to ask for the time to be extended. If you are playing at these events, make sure to ask for the time extensions because judges could forget. They have a lot of things going on, and I haven't had to judge a major event yet, but I could just imagine it. So, kudos to you, Phil. I thank you so much for everything you do, but for any sort of experience that you're providing to the Disney Lorcana community, it's very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Shout out all the judges too, like not just because I know it's a whole community. I'm sure you keep in touch with the judge community too. I know a handful of judges, like at least like on like a hey what's up kind of level, which is cool. But yeah, there's y'all really committed. People are really committed to learn to not only knowing how to play the game, but like making sure that we're playing it correctly and stuff. But we do want to get a ruling question with you, and then even a quick game, so we can get a quest real quick with Phil. Oops. So let's say you're in a judge call, Phil. And this is the game state. Well, first of all, this guy has his ink upside down. There we go. Okay, so this is the game state. I am player A. We're player A, and Zach is player B over here. Player A sings "Let It Go" with Cogsworth, but there's only 2 Cogsworths on the board. "Let It Go" specifically says, "Put chosen character into their player's inkwell, face down and exerted." The issue is both Cogsworths have Ward. Ward specifically says opponents can't choose this character except to challenge. What happens? What's your ruling, and what's going down?
So for something like this, if it happens at a competitive level table, and technically it should happen at a casual level table, but we're a little bit more fair for players there. You sung "Let It Go," so per rules, you've announced "Let It Go." You've said how I'm gonna pay for it is I'm gonna sing it. So we're already far into the play steps of playing the card, right? You don't choose anything until "Let It Go" is finished resolving, which means you've paid for it, now it's in play, and you have to choose a target. There's not a may on that. You have to choose a target, right? You can't choose your opponent's Cogsworth because they have Ward. You cannot choose an opponents can't choose this character. So what happens is you have to then choose your own Cogsworth because Ward allows you to choose it, just your opponents can't choose it. So now your Cogsworth is going to become face down and exerted in your inkwell.
No. So yeah, don't do plays like that. Read your cards. We're grown.
Read your cards.
We're grown. We should know how to read our cards, my friends. But yeah, thank you for clearing that up for us. I know there was a huge debate over this specific interaction on Twitter. But it's like you said, on the competitive scene, obviously, if there's 2 players who don't know what's going on, and let's say, and that's another thing too, my goons, if you're playing a situation, right, and you do something and neither player knows how it's going to resolve, how it goes down, just raise your hand, call a judge. If there's ever a situation that even makes you uncomfortable, something going down where you feel, maybe my opponent might be trying to take advantage of the situation, call a judge. Like, that's literally what they're there for. I've had people, or we've seen people argue like, no, just take it back, let your opponent take it back. And at the end of the day, that's up to your discretion, not to say it couldn't, but if a ruling does come up in that situation, it has to be played out the way the game plays it out. That's the point of the game and the rules and whatnot. That's the reason why you can activate songs for no reason, is because cards like Sleepy's Flute exist. So, maybe there is merit to me wanting to get this ink. You never know. Maybe I might need 7 ink next turn for a card. But since we have these decks out, Phil, you down to try and beat Zach on Quest with a Guest? Because right now Zach has an undefeated record against me and the guests. So
oh man,
we have to, yeah, we got to try and defeat him, bro.
Just something to say. You brought up a good point there. Is that no one should ever be afraid of calling a judge. Again, we're here to make sure that the game goes smoothly and is going according to rules. So if there's ever any concern, always call for a judge. And the other thing too is that, and this has been something that's been brought up in a few of the DLCs recently, is that you should never feel intimidated by your opponent. There are obvious rules against that. If your opponent's being very rude or something like that, we can, call the judge for unsporting conduct. So please keep that in mind and make sure to utilize your judge. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I love that you said that, man. Yeah, because there are a lot of new players who might feel a little bit intimidated with those whole judge interactions. In fact, I actually know a player personally from the last DLC who had just a tough time dealing with a judge call, and it was their very first time playing at high stake top tables and having to do a judge call like that, and it can be intimidating, so no matter what, raising your hand, calling for a judge, that'll definitely resolve any tension on the board for sure, so you can just get back to playing Lorcana, which is what we're all there for, right? Phil, do you have any experience playing Blue Steel?
A little bit.
Okay. So we opened up Tipo, Fortisphere, Ariel, the treasure collector, grab your swords, Cogsworth, Mr. Smee, Tinkerbell, and we are playing set 5 stuff now. Let's play this together. See if we can beat Zach with our double brain. So I don't like uninkables in the hand. And then
No, I agree with that.
Okay. And then I kind of like this Cogsworth because I know we're playing the mirror match. And if you guys didn't know, Cogsworth in Sapphire, in Steel matchups, specifically Steel matchups, is kind of like GG is what it feels like, right? Like that's
Mhm.
like okay. And I'm down to keep the Smee. Do you think we need Smee and Tipo? I'm down. We have a little bit of extra.
Yeah, I think
speed ups.
I think getting the aggression out is okay.
Okay, sick. So we'll keep those. Ooh, okay. So we got long hair Simba.
It didn't get better.
Yeah, yeah, not any better, unfortunately. But we can at least use Tipo to ink this big Mufasa that's not coming down anytime soon. And then we got Grab Your Swords, which might not be the best in this Cogsworth mirror match.
So the funny thing is that depending on their opener, I might ink the grab your sword with Tipo.
Right,
Just because if we can get to Mufasa faster, that might be okay.
That's true. That's
All right.
true.
So I am myself too playing this blue steel strategy. So I have here a Fortisphere that I get to now draw a card for it. So that'll be my turn, Kevin. Go ahead.
All right, ink Cusco, play Fortisphere. We're gonna draw for turn. Then we drew Peak Games. Love me some Peak Games. This card's pretty good. This is gonna stop probably a whole new world if he has it like on turn 3 or something. So yeah, we definitely gotta ink one of these cards. Doesn't look like Simba's gonna get any play
Yeah,
anytime soon.
Simba into Fortisphere is probably the play.
Okay, yeah. And then on top of that, like if you didn't know we were playing the mirror match, we're not revealing our color pattern yet. I mean, don't get me wrong, how many decks really play Fortisphere? But you never know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and look at that. We drew another Simba. This is my favorite Simba, by the way. He got tattoos. I think it's cool. He even got like a butt tattoo. Look at that. Okay, go ahead, Zach Stone. Pass turn.
I don't see a butt tattoo on this Simba.
Yeah, look, he has it on like his back. It's like his lower back, almost his butt. It's like it's like his pattern. It's like henna.
All right.
It's cool. Like it's like really cool. This is the coolest Simba that we got.
Enough.
I wish
Fair
I wish
enough.
he was a shift Simba, honestly.
All right. Well, I don't have experience with this deck, so I'm gonna just do the play that I think is cool.
Okay, so he's gonna ink
ink
a
my
Smee.
Mr. Smee, and that is 2 ink now. I can play Tipo, and I think I do this. I want to do that. You don't see the card, right?
Oh yeah.
Right. All right. Cool. I got this tabletop thing down. Your turn.
Okay. So we're gonna draw for turn. All right, we drew the best card in our
Ooh.
deck. Definitely a good
Yeah.
card. Do a little hand shuffle. We probably don't want to ink the Smee. I think I'll just ink Simba again because I don't think Simba's gonna get us there in time. Like we don't have enough ramp, and if we're gonna
Yeah,
ramp
you're
into
gonna ink
something,
Simba. We'll probably Tipo this turn into Hiram next turn.
Tipo,
Probably the
yeah,
play.
and then Tipo, we'll probably still hit this grab your swords, huh?
Yeah.
Definitely don't want that right now. And then we're just gonna pass. Yeah, flavor seems to be good. It might get us like another Tipo maybe. Maybe some fishbone quills.
Quit copying me.
Straight up mirror match over here. Tipo.
So unoriginal, Kevin.
We're net deckers.
All right.
Oh no. Okay. See? Now he's ahead. He's a little bit ahead over here. So I know you want to play. All right, we'll discuss this after because he's cooking. He's cooking, guys. Zach's cooking. Okay.
Oh yeah, we are cooking, my friends.
Okay.
Or I would like to say, my goons.
Oop, my bad.
No, it's fine. That's it's gonna be a quest, and that's it.
Okay. Yeah, so I drew for turn preemptively. Don't disqualify me, Judge Phil. That was an accident. Okay, so I know we want to play Flavor Sham this turn because it's on 4, but hear me out. What if we play Pete Games Master or Pete Games Referee? Sorry. What if we play Pete so that he cannot whole new world us next turn, so that we can ensure that we drop this Cogsworth? Because I just feel like Cogsworth in this steel matchup is gonna like make the difference. Because
I agree with that.
even if we Flavor Sham,
think,
right? Like it's not good.
I think Smee gets the ink now, and if we can hold a turn, and if we can even get into like if he doesn't hold new world, if he tries to do a turn 5, then Cusco will be active.
Yeah, Cusco's gonna be really
Pretty
good. Yeah, Cusco will kind of slow him down too in his tracks. Get a little. We'll quest for one with the Tipo. Get some Tipo value there. Forgot to exert my
Hey,
ink.
hey! You're playing too many Pete games over
Peak
here.
games, bro. Hey, man, you got a whole new
Uh,
world. I know you got a whole new world there.
I don't know how to play this deck. I really don't.
Not when I
Okay,
peak games you, bro.
all right. So, pro tip for all you goons out there: Fishbone Quill is a card that allows you to ink a card from your hand without revealing it. I am going to ink a card that will be the only card I ink for turn.
Mm.
So I will decide to not reveal that ink, and I'm gonna play this.
Oh my gosh, that is a card that I was not anticipating. Okay, so Aerial
All
Treasure Collector
right.
comes down, and now we're on a what, 4-turn clock? That's
I don't know,
crazy.
man. We'll see. I got more items than you. Go ahead.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Okay, not gonna lie, Phil. I'm a little scared that we didn't keep grab your swords because this thing is just chilling there.
Yeah, you'd have
Okay.
to have two though.
Yeah, we'd have to have two anyways. He's just gonna. I mean, he doesn't have dime, so luckily he doesn't have dime or anything. He's just gonna sit there until he can maybe squeeze out a dime next turn if he top decks it. But you're right, we have the Cusco for the dime. But we're not
Probably
inking
ink
flavor sound.
Tipo
Yeah, I
and
think
then
the
just go
Tipo.
into cogs.
Definitely going to Cogs. I think that's the safe play here. Because now
Heat.
we've effectively turned off any like removal card, right?
Yeah. Heat can go into Tipo.
Bam. Oop. Hit that little boy. All
You
right.
know, that.
There we go. And then we'll quest with the Tipo.
That's got resist, bro.
Oh, it got resist. You're right. You're right. Dang, no resist, bro. We got resist. We got resist, Zach. See, I forgot. Yeah, see, ruling. That's another thing too. So if that were to happen in the game, right? Let's say I pass turn, right? But this had started 1 damage on it, and then on Zach's
Mhm.
turn, Zach, draw your card for turn.
Well, I'm glad you're picking up what I'm putting down. That was a good. I'm glad you did that.
No, well, yeah, resist. But so if it was Zach's turn, and I'm like, hey Zach, by the way, this guy had to resist, so I wasn't supposed to take any damage. Like, is that something where Zach can be like, nope, too late, accept the game state, or like judge comes, or you'd have to be like, no, just take off the damage.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's not really like the damage shouldn't have happened, right? So you guys are playing on an incorrect thing. There's a communication and info error that can happen in games. It's also a game warning.
Ooh,
And the funny thing is that again, if your opponent knows, if you know or your opponent knows that something should be happening and you aren't being truthful about it, that is technically called cheating in Lorcana.
Yes, Steve, that makes you a cheater. Thank you. Yes. Oh my gosh, I hate cheaters. No, but yes, exactly. If you're if and my goons, you need to understand this. If you are purposely seeing like the game state being misrepresented, and even if it's in your favor, like just don't win that way. Just play the way the game is supposed to be played. Play fair and square. Just maintain the integrity of the sportsmanship, dude. Like it's just so important. Like to me, it's like a sport, and I got to win fairly. So no, Zach, I will not.
You got to be like a Pete Games referee, not a Pete born to cheat.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be the games referee, not that cheat.
Don't be the Pete Rotten guy.
Rotten guy, yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Bad guy.
So now I will play my favorite card in this deck.
Flavor
Hiram
Flav.
Flavorstone.
Yep.
All right. I think it lets me do that and draw 2. I don't know what blue cards do. I'm sorry.
This is a good card.
Ah,
This is a good card. Phil, do you think you should have had the errata? The supposed errata?
I saw it and I cried with joy for the 10 minutes that it was out. It is a great card. Hiram is, but I feel like he's a little overtuned. Just based on the stat line. I don't mind his ability, but the fact that it takes 2 cards to out Hiram is really rough.
Yeah.
you need double grab your sword.
Yeah, you can't even Zeus this card. Like you need, like you said, 2 cards.
Yeah.
The only one-shot cards are in red, and one of them is uninkable, so it's kind of bad.
All right. I ink Tinkerbell and I use Fishbone ink a card from my hand, and that's it.
All right. So ready, set, draw. I did it backwards. Supposed to ready our cards first. Let's go ahead and what do we want to do?
Will we hear him?
Right. All right. We don't need Cusco just yet. I'm kind of holding this Cusco for a lucky dime just in case that comes down because of that Ariel.
No, I agree.
Ariel has me freaked out. All right. So Fortisphere dies, and we draw 2 cards. Nice. And we're just gonna go ahead and ink an extra card. We don't need 2 Tinkerbells. and definitely questing for 2 here. Take advantage of the. We need more items though. We don't have no items. But next
No,
turn,
so then the question is there any reason not to quest with pods?
cogs. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I guess.
Because I mean, like, if he trades on cogs with Ariel plus a grab your sword, I think that's like the best thing.
Mhm.
Because now Ariel's exposed, right?
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I don't.
No, I mean, yeah, you would have to do it that way, and then he would have to use his flare and bump into the Pete, which would like basically stop him from drawing two also.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's definitely benefits to putting him on that line because I think his win con is probably going to be this aerial.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we kind of want to like force him to expose the Ariel if possible.
What the?
It does that.
It's always fun, like, watching the. I think it's the most fun I have when games is like when you're trying to guess what a player is going to play based on what ink they're tapping or how much ink they're tapping.
Oh yeah, I do the same thing. Like sometimes I anticipate like, oh, you're on turn like this, so you probably do like a combo piece of like Flavor Sham, what's it called, Flavor Sam Tipo or something, and then
Yeah.
then I start seeing them on their turn, like they start tapping 5, and they're thinking, I'm like, oh, it's a 5 drop, what's coming?
I love it. Like, I'm playing into red blue a lot, and they have like 7 ink or so, and then they tap
I'll
2,
make
and I'm
my
like,
Flavor Sham have bodyguard.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Wow.
That's my move.
Okay, so ready, set, draw. Thing, I'll let it go here would have been super clean, but we just don't have it. And how do we knock out this Flavor Shim? This is 3 damage, 5, 6. We can use all these to try. Or no, we could just play
you can go
Tinkerbell.
into Tink, yeah.
Yeah, we could do Tinkerbell and go 4, 5, and then keep the Cogsworth healthy. Probably do
Yeah,
that.
with the Tamatoa now, you have to
Yeah.
respect.
So 3, 4, 5 damage, and then 6. Bam. 6. Unfortunately, though, we don't have a play other than to ink this and hope to get into this this Mufasa next turn. And then we're gonna pass there. Yeah, Sapphire Steel matches can be a little
You hit like 0 ramp and
yeah,
and
a little
you have, like,
polarizing.
Tipo and like no items, so your Hiram's dead right now.
Tippo's just a little kid.
This deck is crazy. Oh my god, why have I been playing blue steel?
We're playing the same list too, by the way. So I just didn't see any fishbone or only saw one item. Okay,
Pop. Okay,
that's pretty good.
5.
It's 5, 5. You go to 18. Do you have the
Yikes.
lucky dime?
I gotta draw it.
Wow.
No way!
Did you really draw? No
No
way!
way!
Get out of here!
No way!
Oh my gosh! And then you just ink again, right?
Dude.
You just ink again because you're a
I
fool.
showed you an inkable card. Yeah.
Oh, you're a fool.
Yeah.
You're a fool, Zach
That
Stone.
is
There.
ridiculous.
I'll do it for you. There you go. 10 lower. Zach is 3-0 against me and the guest on these, bro. That's hilarious. But so
that is really just like my luck, and I'm wearing out for the DLCs.
I mean, you got so many more draws than we got
yeah, and then you had the ramp too. Like I tried to go for Cogsworth. I was just trying to shut down. I was trying to shut down your Zeus and your grab your swords, but none of that was even there, dude. We went for a play. We did not. We couldn't get there. But Zach, yeah, phenomenal player. Obviously, clearly, playing that lucky dime. Luckiest player ever. no. But thanks again, Phil, for playing that with me. We did get to go run into some interactions that might happen at your locals where you might need to judge. Little things like forgetting to put damage or forgetting certain rulings like the let it go and stuff. And it does mean a lot to us that you're able to come on to the Quest with a Guest podcast. Tell us a little bit about being a Lorcana judge and then play against Zach's Exodia deck. That's what it feels like when you play against Sapphire Steel. It feels like you're playing against Exodia because
it's a lot of Exodia decks right now.
yeah, man. You're just waiting for your combo pieces. But before we let you go, Phil, I do want to ask for anybody who wants to, I guess, be in your shoes in terms of like being a Florid judge at a DLC. What are the first steps they got to take?
Just read the rule book. I mean, read the rule book, apply, and get a little bit lucky. For DLC specifically, for it's just going to get harder. For PPG, they like to rehire judges, so a lot of those positions are taken by rehires. And there are thousands of applicants for like 10 positions, right? So you have to be a little bit lucky. I would encourage everyone to participate in those rules channels, participate in their local stores, and just be an asset to your community, and just continuously, help grow. Because it takes someone, it takes a special someone to be a judge and want to push that community and help everyone understand and get better. Because someone who understands the rules helps everyone understand the game more.
Yeah, knowing the rules for sure will help you understand the game more and make you a better player overall. So definitely hop into those Disney Lorcana channels, the official one, the ruling sections. That's brushing up a little bit on your rules and how the game mechanics work and all that. Phil, do you have an Instagram or any way people can follow you? I mean, I know your Facebook. I'll drop a link to your Facebook below. But if there's anybody outside of Southern California who wants to keep up with your Lorcana journey, are you on Twitter yet? I know you actually are on Twitter now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I am on Twitter. I'm IEE_Phil.
Mm-hmm.
So Inland Empire Enchanted Phil. And you can catch me on there. You can go to our Discord, www.ie-enchanted.com. That also has the schedule, which you guys mentioned before, that spreadsheet. We have over 97 weekly events in our area. We track over 62 stores for the set champions. For like set 4, we had 58 different events. So we're just building that calendar for set 5, so be on the lookout for that if you guys are looking for games in the area. And I encourage anyone as well, for your own local areas. If you're trying to do something, just start talking to people, start calling different stores, seeing what's up, and then engaging with your community, your Facebook groups in those areas, and try to build something like this on your side. Because as we can build this network, it'll really help out players who want to join the game and be part of it.
Definitely. Something that I actually kind of want to add, and I remembered from the set championships in our areas, that there are some stores that don't even have social media nor advertise any tournaments, anything like that. So if you guys know in your local areas that the stores aren't promoting their tournaments, get them to make some social medias. Heck, get yourself a job and get hired as their PR rep, because they may not know how to do it too. They may struggle to do that kind of stuff, and they need help. So it's always about just kind of putting yourself out there, like Phil said earlier, being brave. And honestly, the IE Enchanted spreadsheet you made covers like 5 counties in like the Southern California area of all the weekly tournaments. So you can just do something like that if you know how to use spreadsheets to help out your communities and support your local game stores, guys. It's really important.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's how we keep the game alive, and it honestly just keeps the community thriving. I've said it before on Twitter. I feel like Lorcana has like a very grassroots kind of feel to like the community organizing, to tournaments. For the longest time, we were kind of left in the dark about like competitive play and where we're gonna have what we're gonna have. But now that we have it going, there's just more and more people coming into the game. So it would really help. And if anybody ever watches this from Lorcana team, it would really help if the app was a little bit more user friendly, or if Melee was a little more user friendly and how to find tournaments and whatnot. But for right now, like, you don't know how much like you mean to the community, Phil. Like, I'm sure you got a taste of it, but like, you've made such a huge impact, I'm sure, for a lot of local game stores in terms of like the amount of people that show up for not only like the set championship tournaments, but just locals in general. Like, I've gone to, because of your IE Discord and because of your spreadsheets, I've gone to stores that I've never heard of before. I've gone back to those stores to just play tournaments, and when I'm there, I'll buy sleeves, I'll buy snacks or something, and I'm spending money at these like small businesses now. And it does go back to you, like someone like you who's going out of their way to provide a source of information to people who really need it, because we just want to play the game.
I do want to say, I mean, as much as you guys say thank you to me, I do want to also say thank you to everyone in my Discord, as well as the Goons, who helped me find these stores. I'm not the only person that reports these things. This is all crowdsourced. I pull things from Facebook. People will tell me, I have store owners come up to me and tell me their stuff. And yeah, for sure, for finding these events, especially set champs, where we have a few weekends to go and find games to play, it actually encourages us to go find different stores that might be local to us, or might we can find those games and then see what they're about. I went to a game store, Emerald Knights, in, let's say, Burbank or somewhere in LAOC area, and their setup was crazy. They have like an upstairs level which has an open area where you look down into the store. It was so cool playing up there, and just being able to see these different stores and visit different places and just get to know these communities. It's awesome.
Sick, man. Thanks again, Phil. Once again, if you guys want to follow him, I will put his Twitter in the link in the description below. The very important member of the Lorcana Goons community. And I'm sure if you have any questions on how you can bring that type of energy to your community, you can reach out to Phil and ask him. And I'm sure he'd be more than willing to give you some tips and whatnot. But this has been Quest with a Guest. Thank you again, Phil, for being with us. Zach, anything you want to say before we call it a day?
I just a big shout out to all those that do support the local game stores, everyone that comes by to Frankenstein's Collectible Show and supports me. So thank you so much again. This was Quest with a Guest, the podcast where you lore for more. See you goons next time.